Today was absolutely crazy for the stock market, as we can see on the chart right now. At first, it blasted up with today's FOMC event, but it came tumbling down very shortly after. Looking at the heat map today, basically every stock you can think of was red. There is a lot of selling pressure right now, and just a little bit of panic. In this video, we're going to explain what is going on in the market right now, some top setups for tomorrow and the rest of the week, and some stocks that you can use to capitalize off of when the market overall tanks down. At the end of the video, we are also going to cover a $437,000 trade that's pretty crazy. But Tom, what is going on in this market?
Yeah, it's insane, Mike. The S&P 500 took a steep tumble to the downside today, all the way down below the big 380 support even, and we just kept moving lower and lower. And I know, Mike, a lot of people want to get their pitchforks out and storm Powell right now because the market's down a lot. Powell was extremely hawkish today, and the Fed approved another 0.75 basis point rate hike. All 12 members of the FOMC approved this, so that was pretty big to see there, but it's the highest level since '08. But they did hint at a change in policy ahead. Whenever I look down here, they did say that they will take into account the cumulative tightening of monetary policy, the lags with which monetary policy affects economic activity and inflation and economic and financial developments. Might be a little bit confusing there, but pretty much they're just saying that some of these economic data points can kind of lag behind their rate increases. So just keep that in mind. And looking at the CME watch tool, Mike, for the December meeting coming up next on December 14th, they're actually pricing in right now a 56.8% chance of a 50 basis point rate hike compared to the 75 basis point rate hike than we saw now. But I will say Powell was extremely hawkish today, which obviously ended up driving a lot of bearish momentum into the stock market. He kept reiterating that the Feds were going to keep their policy changes tightened longer, and he did say that they're not going to prematurely loosen policy either. So it's a pretty big statement, Mike, when he says to me that he's not going to prematurely loosen their currently tight policy, which would mean that they're kind of going to look at lowering rates, but it's just going to depend on when that happens. And I would think it would happen sometime maybe in the first quarter of next year, but for the rest of this year, I personally think we'll still see 75 basis points.
So today was a little bit confusing to say the least. I know it's a little bit complicated, but the main thing you need to know is that over the past year, the Federal Reserve has been increasing interest rates. And this is not necessarily a bad thing because it will bring down inflation, which is very necessary. We are now to the point where interest rates are getting relatively high, and everyone's wondering, when are you going to stop increasing interest rates, or when are you at least going to slow down your interest rate increases, right? And everyone was kind of hoping that they would slow down the interest rate hikes very soon. And Powell basically said, like, right now, that's not very realistic, but it might be realistic in the future. And it kind of just was like a letdown for the market. And in turn, we saw stocks fall. In addition to Powell's other comments, it just brought in selling pressure. Now, while this kind of sucks, it's not the end of the world. The S&P 500 is still up over the past couple weeks, and it is still holding up fine, you can say. But Tom, I will say today was a bit of a bloodbath with the S&P 500 down 2.5%. And when you look at that heat map, some of the biggest market moving companies out there were down anywhere from 3 to like 5 or 6%.
Yeah, definitely. Like Apple was down a lot. Microsoft was falling off the board. We're seeing a lot of these stocks starting to fall down. Look at Microsoft, Mike. They're actually almost at a new yearly low here, almost kind of bouncing off that 220 support right now. So keep these stocks on your watch list. I think that we can see a lot more downwards movement coming in here over the next couple weeks. You know, he was extremely bearish here, and a lot of these big stocks are starting to get really close to those supports. So watch for more breaks to the downside, Mike. And, you know, one of the big stocks that I'm watching to the downside is actually the Dow Jones Industrial ETF, DIA. So this pretty much follows the Dow Jones Index, and you can see that the DIA really ripped up for the month of October, Mike. It was actually a really nice month, the best month actually since 1976. So that's a huge statistic there all the way back since 1976. I could maybe see a bit more of a downtrend here happen. Now, I'm not saying the Dow's necessarily going to, explode to the downside or anything, but over the next few days, I think looking at targets maybe at like 318, maybe 316 on this is very realistic. And I think we could definitely almost get there, just a couple more red days and we're going to hit those targets.
Gotcha. One stock I'm watching is Apple for I would say, yeah, probably the rest of this week, mainly. Apple just had a very hard rejection today. It's down nearly 4%. It tried to run up in the middle of the day up to like 152, but it just got hit down hard. We are now very close to the important, I guess you can say, I don't want to say a pivot point, but a pivotal level for this stock in the past, right around 144 to 143. This is the area at which Apple bounced last week with earnings. We are right at that level again. Apple has a good amount of selling pressure with it right now, and the overall market's tanking. So I am watching Apple for tomorrow and Friday for some downwards movement. I'm eyeing up puts on it. I might take a short position just for like a couple quick scalps, but it definitely is moving in a pretty strong way to the downside.
Yeah, definitely, Mike. It looks like it's actually moving almost directly with the SPY. I mean, their charts are almost identical right there. So I know Apple moves with SPY quite a bit, but today specifically, I mean, that is almost identical. So crazy movements, Mike. And like you said, that 144 support will be huge there. Another big tech stock I'm watching down is actually AMD, and they actually had earnings this week. They popped up. I actually did not like their earnings report too much, Mike. I actually saw a lot of negative numbers here. You can see, at least on these numbers here, it's posting some negative stuff there compared to the expectations. And now AMD is actually falling down in a huge way. When you look at that daily chart, Mike, this almost looks like a bit of like a dead cat bounce play now that we're falling down. And if we break that big support down there around 54.60, I think we could see a huge sell-off. So watch AMD for the next few days. I think we could see it fall down with the markets, kind of like how you're looking with Apple.
Gotcha. So I'm actually watching a play that's pretty similar to your AMD play, and that would be NVIDIA. NVIDIA has been struggling to break out above the 140 resistance for quite some time now. 140 has become a very crucial level for NVIDIA ever since the beginning of July of this year, and it has just really struggled to break out above that. In my opinion, NVIDIA is also relatively weak to other stocks in the market right now, and I can see it touching anywhere between like 125 to 126 in the short term. I am also looking at this one for potential put play or even like a short play. What would really help is if the market continues down with this, obviously, but it's definitely on my watch list to the downside. I'm definitely seeing some weakness with it right now.
Yeah, me too, Mike. I mean, that's a huge support to bounce off of. That's a really nice confirmation. I love to see that as far as the technicals go. So awesome movement there. And I think that'll be a really good play to the downside with this market. But yeah, I think that we're just going to see a bit of a sell-off. Like I said, the Dow is coming off the best month since 1976. So you just have to expect some type of downwards movement. I mean, that is a pretty big statistic, Mike. And as we know, whenever you see historical uptrends like that, you usually have some type of slowdown at some point.
Yeah, exactly. We're just really entering a period of increased volatility. We had a huge week last week with the key tech stock earnings. Obviously, today and this week was pretty important with earnings, and then, of course, Powell speaking. And we're probably not going to see volatility decrease in the short-term future, just because we have a lot of things on the schedule to end this year, and we have midterms coming up too. So I don't think volatility will calm down anytime soon, and that's not a bad thing because that presents opportunity all across the board.
Yeah, it really does, Mike. And talking about more volatility, we still have some pretty big earnings still coming up this week. And after hours today, we saw Qualcomm and Roku report. Can't wait to see how those end up in the morning. But looking at these other stocks, Mike, PayPal and Coinbase tomorrow, along with Square, that's going to be huge. I know Square took a huge tumble today with the market. So keep that one on the radar for earnings. Hopefully it can help it recover, but I don't see it happening, Mike, at this point. But on Friday, we have DraftKings and Fubo, but DraftKings is going to be the big one I'm looking at for the rest of the week. I know I've also seen a lot of people talk about PayPal, Coin, and Square too.
Yep, we'll see. It's definitely going to be exciting for the rest of the week. But Tom, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Airbnb to the downside, and this one was actually an earnings play from yesterday.
Yeah, it is. It looks like a nice continuation happened here. If they break below $94 even, look at them to the downside, Mike. That's not necessarily support here because they've been gapping down so much. I do see support like right around 94.30, but I think 94 would be a good level to make it break below.
All right, with the next one, we have McDonald's also to the downside.
MCD, it's good to see this one kind of pulling back, Mike. Looking at that on the daily chart, look at how overextended McDonald's is, obviously being one of those huge Dow stocks there. But yeah, looking at them, Mike, go ahead and make them fall below 269.75.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Amazon, but to both directions.
Yeah, so wow, yeah, they even fell down in after hours a lot here. Go ahead and make them break down below $92 even. That's right around that low there in after hours. And if they break up above 94, watch for a play to the upside. I will say, Mike, that is actually a pretty big resistance up there right around 94. So watch for that potential breakout if we do see a recovery.
Sounds good. So we're watching Airbnb, McDonald's, and Amazon for potential day trades to the downside tomorrow, only if they break below the levels Tom listed. And then with Amazon, we also have that upside level if it breaks above the level Tom listed. But guys, check out our bots play from today. So if you guys are into short-term trading, this is pretty awesome. Our bot called out the GLD 153 strike call options at $137 today, and it popped all the way up to $265 each. That's a 93% pop within just a couple hours. If you're looking for short-term trades, our bot is awesome. It gives out options alerts every single day for day trades. We also have a swing trades channel, custom bots you won't find anywhere else, a private community where you can chat with Tom, myself, and many other great members and people. And in the worst case scenario, you can cancel at any time. We also have a discount running right now for the first month. So check it out. If you're into short-term trading, this is the way to go. Our bot did absolutely amazing today with a 93% pop within just a couple hours. The bot doesn't win every single play, of course. No strategy does, but the bot is dang good. So definitely check it out. It'll be that first link in the description and the comments down below. But Tom, as the market is falling, I want to talk a little bit more about some ETFs that people can trade to take advantage of a falling market. Basically, if you look at a stock like SPXS, we can see that this thing just soared today, and we could see that it's up 7.5%. So when the stock market as a whole falls, SPXS tends to boom up. So keep this one on your watch list for, just short-term trades as well.
Yeah, definitely, Mike. It's up 7.44%. It's starting to really move. So keep this one on the watch list. I know that this stock has been very low for a while, obviously, as the market has just been kind of consolidating here. But as we start to fall down, this stock might go back on the uptrend, Mike. You guys can see that whenever this stock rises, it goes on some crazy moves. So like from the low to the high on this move, we ran from 1660 all the way up to 27. That is a crazy percentage. On this move, we ran from 1750 all the way up to highs right around 29 or $30. So, I mean, in some cases, Mike, you're approaching almost 100% on these. So crazy moves, Mike. Hopefully we continue back to the upside here as the market falls, and it could end up being a pretty good ETF. And there is actually a lot of other ETFs out there that also follow obviously like volatility and stuff like that. I know a lot of people, Mike, like to talk about VXX. Personally, that's not my favorite one anymore. That's had a lot of issues over the past couple of years. I do think UVXY could be another one to play if the market does end up falling down. You can see it has been falling a lot and it might end up going on an uptrend, but just keep in mind that I would rather go with SPXS personally.
Yeah, so if you're looking to bet on like the market as a whole falling, if you're looking at let's say the NASDAQ, you can buy SQQQ. That also goes up when the market falls. So we can see today it's up over basically 10.5%. And if you're looking to bet on the S&P 500 falling, you would trade SPXS. What's interesting about like SPXS, for example, is that it is an inverse 3x leveraged ETF. So basically, if the market itself is down 2%, SPXS would be up 6%. So basically it does the exact opposite of the market and then times 3. So while this is awesome for short-term trading and day trades and very short-term things, do not hold these over the long term because they do decay.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually threw the SPY on here so you guys can kind of tell how they're inversed. You can see at the top, whenever the SPY falls down, you start to see SPXS rise. So I hope that comparison there really helps you guys see that a little bit better. And then you can see whenever it's charted like this on TradingView, they actually start to converge a little bit as obviously the market starts to fall. So very interesting, Mike. It will be a pretty interesting next couple of weeks, and hopefully these stocks help some people out. I think they can definitely help hedge some portfolios, especially portfolios obviously correlated to the S&P 500 or the QQQ, like you talked about. But yeah, it's going to be crazy, Mike, and I can't wait to see this next CPI reading over the next couple weeks. That's going to be huge too.
Yeah, volatility will definitely be increasing to say the least. So Tom, now I want to move on to the $437,000 trade for tomorrow. We are looking at HZNP, all right? So this trade is a little bit interesting and it is a little bit complex, but I'm going to break it down for everyone. So basically, some whale or hedge fund put $437,000 in a bullish call option play on this stock. This stock is a biopharmaceutical company, and it has been in an amazing uptrend over like the past couple years. Basically, they just reported earnings and they raised their guidance, and some hedge fund basically bought the 85 strike call options and shorted the 100 strike call options for February 17th of 2023. I know that sounds a little bit complex. Basically, what they are betting is that HZNP will be above $85 by February 17th, and then most likely that it will be below $100. So they're expecting it to be between the $85 and $100 range come February 17th of 2023. Like I said, this trade is a little bit advanced, but basically they're taking a bullish stance on HZNP until February of 2023.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, Mike. I tried to actually draw that range out there on the chart that they're looking for, and hopefully it goes back up. It looks like they're starting to fill that gap to the upside. I know there's that huge gap there from that earnings report there back in the beginning of August. So hopefully it starts filling that, and we're starting to bounce off some pretty big supports and breaking above some big resistances here that I plotted. So yeah, great moves, Mike. That's a big whale, obviously, in there. It's not the biggest trade ever, Mike. You said only 437K, right?
Yeah, so like you said, not the biggest trade ever. It is interesting because it's also a debit spread, but, keep it on your radar.
Yeah, I do like it. I mean, it's very interesting. And, if some of the calls could end up playing well on this, and honestly, even these shares would pay out pretty well if we went from 70 up to 85 plus. So yeah, definitely keep it on the radar, guys. It might not be bad. And they just popped up with earnings too. So, hey, at least you have that going. Plus, it's a pharmaceutical company. It won't be too affected by the SPY.
True. Yeah, they're just crazy. Those anything to do with like biotechnology or just pharmaceuticals or anything like that always move in an absolutely crazy way. Sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way, as we could see with Biogen right here.
Yeah, Biogen's been crazy too. I know they've had some crazy news like with that Alzheimer drug, and then they ended up kind of falling back down after that news came out. And yeah, it's been crazy for these pharmaceutical stocks, especially since COVID hit, Mike. I feel like that really shook up the market.
You know it. All right, Tom, do you have any last minute plays or anything going into tomorrow?
Yeah, so I'm really watching the SPY, guys. Just seriously watch this support right here. There's a huge one right around 374 to 375, right where we're sitting. Honestly, it looks like we're going to be flushing to the downside, in my opinion, where there's a lot of downwards movement, but be careful for that volatility in the morning. I know sometimes, Mike, we've seen reversals in the past. I don't see that happening right now, but I know that some people might, but we'll have to see. I'm really going to be watching, though, for that big move below 374. If I see that break down below 374, Mike, I might look at those SPXS options like we talked about. Like some of those calls can go insane.
There we go. Also, I want to give a giant shout out to Karu Kira in the Stocked Up Discord for being our member of the day. You've been in the chat for almost a month now, and you've been very active. So definitely keep it up, and congratulations on the member of the day. Besides that, if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe. We post brand new videos every single day, and definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below to trade with our bot. It is awesome, especially in this market and for short-term trading. The rest of the week is going to be crazy. We still have a lot of key earnings coming up. So thank you guys so much for watching, and let's end the week strong.